Previously, on the advent of cyber, he has struck again. One of their web servers, Santa's Gift.shop, has been hijacked. Alf McBlue's task is to analyze the log files and track down the bandit. Santa's list is right there. Somebody used wget from a Linux terminal to get the Santa's list file, and we found nothing. Take the second one off. It finds it immediately. Hello world and welcome to Hacks. In this video we are looking at day 3 of the advent of cyber. On the third day of cyber, TryHackMe gave to me a room about open source intelligence gathering methodology. The story. As the elves are trying to recover the compromised SantaGift.shop website, Elf Recon McRed is trying to figure out how it was compromised in the first place. Can you help him in gathering open source information against the website? It seems that Elf Recon McRed has already utilized a number of open source intelligence gathering technologies such as Google Dorking, performing a WhoIs Lookup on the domain name, and using Have I Been Pwned. Alf Recon McRed tried to run all email addresses of the Santa Gift Shop website to identify any leakage. Gladly, no data breach was found. So without further ado, let's help Alf Recon McRed and take on day 3, OSINT, Nothing Escapes, Detective McRed. The learning objectives of this room are: what is OSINT and what techniques can extract useful information against websites or a target, using Google Dorking to find specific information on Google search engine, extracting hidden directories from the Robots.txt file, domain owner information through WhoIs Lookup, searching data from hacked databases, acquiring sensitive information that's publicly available on GitHub repositories. So then we've got a paragraph briefly explaining what open source intelligence is. It's a technology, it's a methodology that hackers or cybersecurity professionals can use to gather as much information about their target but without actively engaging with it. It's usually a form of passive reconnaissance, they say. I've done a whole video on this and the various different types, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but that's essentially what open source intelligence is. It's using resources publicly available in the internet, gather as much information about your target as possible but without directly interacting with your target. One of the first techniques you will learn when you start learning open source intelligence gathering is Google Dorking, and that is using the Google search engine specific keywords, I believe they call them either operators or something to that effect, to narrow down your searches and search specifically for resources. So if you put things in quotation marks, it will only return searches based on that exact phrase. So instead of getting recommendations on things that are similar, you will only get results that contain the exact thing. And then you can use things like in URL, which will search for keywords in the actual URL of the domain name. So if you've got a site that says secret documents, you can put in URL secret documents and it will only return URLs that have secret documents in the URL. Then you have file types. You can look for specific file types like PDFs, Word documents, configuration files, backup files. Then you have site, which will search only that specific site that you're putting in. So if you want to find something that's specific on a site, one particular file or one particular page, you can use the site operator and then it will only return results for that site. I've got a cheat sheet over on Hacks. It's very basic, doesn't have everything on there, but I have covered this before in my open source intelligence video, so go feel free to check that out as well if you want some more open source techniques on Google Dorking. WhoIs Lookup. WhoIs Lookup is a technique that can be used to gather information about the domain from a centralized database. It can provide information about the registrar, which is the ISP where the domain is registered. You can also use it to gather information about the registrant. That's the person who actually registered the domain name, and you can sometimes get their address or their business address, the date that it was registered, telephone number, and email address. Sometimes these options are blocked out with things like domain privacy. If you've opted into that, then sometimes that information will be redacted from the domain result. But this information could be very useful for finding out things like the name server, when it was last updated, and when it's going to expire. The Robots.txt file file. You can find this on some sites, and essentially what it is, it's a file that tells search engines what pages not to index. So when you build a website and you want to get it search engine ready and you want to SEO it, you submit it to Google or to Bing or whichever search engine you want to. However, there are some pages you never want to be indexed, for instance admin pages or pages that may contain sensitive content. Granted, those pages shouldn't be publicly available anyway, but what you can do is you can put those paths into your Robots.txt file so that the bots that go through and crawl your website to index them ignore those pages. Again, due to the nature of the paths that are in this file, paths that you don't want indexed on the internet, they could contain sensitive information which could be useful to threat actors. Breached database search. There are a number of these available on the internet, but the most commonly used one is Have I Been Pwned, and you can use it to check your email address to see if it's been compromised. Have I Been Pwned finds leaks, gets the databases, stores them in this backend, and allows you to perform searches to see if your email address has been found in a leak. When you perform this, you can see email addresses that have been leaked in the famous RockYou leak, and recently they added the functionality to check your phone number from when threat actors were able to crawl publicly available Facebook pages and get phone numbers off of Facebook and collate them into a database. It's a really good tool if you're performing a threat assessment for a client and you want to find out if any of their email addresses have been leaked. I don't believe they support wildcards, so you have to go through each email address individually unless you sign up to like a premium version, but this is a great resource to find out if your email address has been compromised, and I would recommend doing it on a regular basis to see if you need to go through and change your passwords, even though you should be rotating them regularly anyway, right? Searching GitHub repositories. There are actually tools that will do this for you, and I believe bug bounties have been paid out to people who have found hard-coded passwords in repositories in code where developers have put, say, the config.php file into their WordPress into their GitHub repository, and it contains the database password. And yeah, there are tools that will go out and crawl these GitHub repositories and look for hard-coded credentials and report it back to you. And like I say, it is a thing that hackers do with bug bounties, and sometimes they can get a payout if they're able to find hard-coded credentials. And again, where there's money to be made, you know, threat actors will come along, they'll find hard-coded credentials, use them for nefarious actions, whether it's to get onto the back-end server, drop some ransomware, make them pay out, or even just to deface the website for a political statement. McRed, the recon master, searched various terms on GitHub to find something useful like Santa gift shop, Santa gift, Santa shop, etc. Luckily, one of the terms worked, and he found the website's complete source code publicly available through OSINT. And now it's time for the challenges, and the first question is, what is the name of the registrar for the domain Santa gift shop? Now, all I did is I went into Google and I typed in WhoIs, and the first link is who.is. I put the name of the domain name into the search box, and you can see the name of the registrar is Namecheap Inc. So I'm just going to pop that there, and hopefully we get the correct answer. The next question, find the website source code repository on github.com and open the file containing sensitive credentials. Can you find the flag? So all I did is I headed over to GitHub, I typed in Santa gift shop, and there's only one repository. I'm just going to click on it there. Now, usually sensitive credentials are found in configuration files. For instance, you have the wp-config.php file for WordPress. This file usually contains the database password. However, I did notice that there's an additional config.php file, and straight at the top of that there is a flag that says thm OSINT works. So if we grab that, head over to the room, paste that in, and we're done. The next question asks, what is the file containing passwords? Well, we know that that is config.php because that's the one we're currently looking in. Does it actually have passwords? It does, Santa22. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to type in config.php and I'll click submit. The next question asks, what is the name of the QA server associated with the website? Well, you can see that we've kind of got the website address there with a TRD at the end, and we have two letters. It could potentially be QA, but let's go and have a look. So it's already right there. As you can see, we have the database hostname QA Santa gift shop. So I'm just going to take that, I'm going to paste it in and see if it's correct. And whoop whoop, the answer is correct. And the final question, what is the DB password that is being reused between QA and production environments? So if we go back over here, we can see the password is Santa 2022, and you can see there we've got an if statement, if environment equals production, so I assume this is if environment equals QA. you can see that the password is the same on both. Very bad practice. And then all we have to do is come over here, paste that in, click submit, and I think we are done. Check out this room if you would like to learn more about Google Dorking, and I'd recommend it. It's a good room. We have now completed day 3 of the advent of cyber for TryHackMe. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you didn't like it. Maybe you could subscribe. But that's all I've got for you today. I'll see you next time. Kind regards.
Ho, 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 ho.